Hey everyone! Welcome back to another thrilling episode. This time, Momo and Okarun are in deep trouble, and the stakes have never been higher. Are you ready for the wildest showdown yet? Let's dive into the action! Dan to Dan episode 3 starts now. At the beginning of the episode, we see a scene from a TV show where two people are chatting. One of them, a fortune teller, claims to have psychic powers. She tries to guess the age of the other person, saying, "You're 27 years old." The guy casually responds, "No, I'm 20. The lady doesn't stop there, though. She continues by predicting that the man is married and has kids. He calmly replies, "No wife, no kids either." Then she asks, "You like curry?" And he's like, "Nah, I prefer ramen." After that, the woman decides to leave. That's when we learn her name, Dodoria Santa. And it turns out she's a guest on this local TV show. The host, a bit skeptical, explains to his friend that since it's just a local program, no one would be offended by their little chat, so the show can keep going. In the next scene, Dodoria Santa is in a taxi. The curious driver asks, "So, do you actually have psychic powers?" Without missing a beat, Santa steps out of the cab and firmly says, "Drive away if you want to stay alive." Then the scene shifts to the outside of a shrine, where we see Momo passed out, and Turbo Granny reappears. But suddenly, boom, Turbo Granny gets smacked into the river by a surprise hit. She looks up and sees another grandma standing in front of her, holding a baseball bat and wearing a long robe. An epic fight breaks out between Turbo Granny and Dodoria Santa. Turbo Granny starts off looking super strong, showing off her crazy power. But midway through the fight, Dodoria Santa pulls off a surprising move. Turbo Granny goes for a kick, but suddenly flames surround her. Santa had cast a barrier spell. She draws a circle dividing the space into two, inside and outside the ring. And the wildest part? Turbo Granny can't get into the inner part of the circle. With this technique, Santa starts going on the offensive. But Turbo Granny doesn't back down, growling, "Don't think you can hold me forever." She even mocks Santa by calling her an old hag. But Santa shoots back, "I'm not holding you, I'm ending you." Turbo Granny, getting serious, counters, "If you kill me, that kid will die too." Santa doesn't seem too bothered though. She forms another circle, this time trapping Turbo Granny completely, bringing the fight to a close. After that, she erases the old circle. The battle is getting more intense. Turbo Granny is on fire, literally screaming in agony. Then, we cut to Momo, who's fast asleep in her room. Suddenly, she wakes up, remembers Okarun, and rushes downstairs while yelling his name. Meanwhile, Dodoria Santa is chilling, watching TV. Momo finally reaches the bottom and asks her grandma, "Where's Okarun?" Her grandma coldly replies, "If you mean the evil spirit, I already took care of it." Shocked by this, Momo shouts, "Was the evil spirit wearing glasses?" Her grandma throws some shade, saying, "Didn't you say you didn't believe in ghosts?" A few moments later, Momo apologizes to her grandma, saying, "I'm really sorry, Grandma." "I get it now. The spirit really was real. I regret calling you a fraud. Please forgive me. But can you tell me where the kid is?" Her grandma calmly says, "Wait, he's in the warehouse next door." Hearing that, Momo bolts to the location. When Momo reaches the warehouse, she's flooded with guilt over everything that's happened. Okarun is just a normal kid, obsessed with the supernatural. If he's gotten involved with spirits, Momo feels like it's all her fault. She opens the door to find Okarun still alive, munching on a rice ball. Seeing this, Momo's reaction is a mix of relief and frustration. She slams the door in annoyance because it wasn't what she expected. After kicking the door in frustration, she calms down and sits near it, muttering, "I'm so pissed." That's when Grandma shows up and says, "Since when are you friends with monsters?" Then her grandma adds, "You seem pretty into that kid. Are you falling for him?" Momo quickly denies, "Not like that, Grandma." They continue their conversation, joking around. Momo then shares how she got her psychic powers after visiting a place where she claims she met a UFO. She explains that it was there her abilities were awakened. Hearing this, Grandma skeptically responds, "UFOs don't exist." Momo replies, "I used to think that too, but not anymore." The conversation continues back and forth, with Grandma believing in psychic powers but still doubting UFOs. Later on, Grandma explains the origin of Turbo Granny. She used to be called 100-kilometer Granny because she could run at 100 kilometers per hour. That name makes sense since her insane speed made her feared all over Japan. Turbo Granny is basically a yokai, a malevolent spirit that once came across a spirit bound to a specific location. One so powerful it couldn't leave its spot. Turbo Granny merges with the spirit, gaining even more strength. So far, no medium or spirit expert has ever beaten a bound spirit in their domain, not even Grandma Momo. That's why Grandma says, "You can't beat her, you don't stand a chance, I don't want to lose my grandchild." She tells Momo to just go back to normal life, as if she's given up. But Momo starts thinking about what her idol, Ken Takakura, would do in this situation. She's convinced Ken would step up and help Okarun without hesitation. Grandma overhears and jokingly teases Momo about having a crush on Okarun, but Momo denies it. Then, Grandma suggests a plan to take down Turbo Granny. Since Turbo Granny is tied to a specific place, her power weakens once she leaves that area. So, the strategy is to challenge her to a race. Turbo Granny is super confident in her speed, so she'll probably accept. Once she does, all they need to do is outrun her out of her power zone. Okarun says he can only use his full power twice, so Grandma advises him to train so he can maintain that strength longer. She gives him a tough training regimen, kinda like Saitama's: 100 sit-ups, push-ups, and squats, 5 sets. Okarun wants to apologize to Momo because he feels like he didn't do enough in their last fight against the aliens. Momo reassures him, "Don't worry, you fought well." After a moment of seriousness, Okarun asks, "Can you get me some water? I'm so thirsty." Meanwhile, on TV, there's gossip about Grandma Momo's predictions, and everything she said turned out to be true, especially about an actor named Shoma, who was predicted to be 27 and have kids. The next day, the training starts, but Okarun suddenly feels like he needs to go to the bathroom. Unfortunately, he starts transforming into Turbo Granny, and they have to stop him. Momo explains she can see the aura around him and control it. To prove it, she lifts some rocks with her powers. Momo shares how when her powers first awakened, she was unstoppable, but now she's not as strong. Grandma responds, "Your problem is you rely too much on your sight. You need to use all your senses. Touch, imagination, everything. Only then will you become stronger." She asks Momo to close her eyes and try controlling Okarun's aura. Momo tries and seems to succeed, but it's actually Turbo Granny who emerges. Okarun, unable to hold back, rushes toward the bathroom. Grandma panics. "Wait, I need to go too." Finally, Okarun makes it to the bathroom, and while he's chilling there, Momo has to keep an eye on him to maintain the aura control. Then, out of nowhere, Turbo Granny shows up again. She starts chatting with Momo, threatening that they have until tonight to head to the tunnel if they want to sort this mess out. As she's talking, she glances at Grandma, who suddenly starts bleeding from her nose and ears. Turbo Granny sneers, "I'm giving your grandma a choice. Die from a stroke or a heart attack." Momo looks over at Okarun, who's also starting to nosebleed. In a twisted explanation, Turbo Granny places a curse on Okarun, and this curse can spread to everyone around him through Okarun as the link. She drops her last message, telling them to show up at the tunnel tonight, or else she'll wipe everyone out. After that, Okarun and Grandma snap back to reality. Momo notices blood dripping from them. Grandma and Okarun check themselves out, seeing that the nosebleeds just keep on coming. They realize it's time to gear up. Grandma whips out some traditional Japanese clothes and dresses them up, explaining that the outfits act like spiritual armor, kind of like bulletproof vests against spirits. Momo remembers how they fought aliens without any special gear and argues, "We took on aliens without all this stuff." Grandma retorts firmly, "Aliens aren't real." With their spirits lifted, they get ready to face Turbo Granny. They decide to bike over to the tunnel, but the distance is way too far, so they switch to taking the train instead. On the train, Okarun apologizes again, feeling guilty for dragging Momo into this chaos, but Momo confidently replies, "No way! I'm not forgiving her for hurting the people I care about." Wow, that was intense. Turbo Granny really turned up the heat this time. Can Momo and Okarun survive this? Stick around for the next episode. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share.